Welcome to Syncast powered by Commercient. I'm Heath McKnight. Joining me today is Bear Ravenscroft, who is a regional sales manager for Zoho. Bear, really appreciate you coming on today and tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do for Zoho.
Hi, Heath. Thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm happy to be here. My name is Bear Ravenscroft. Bear is my given first name. What I do here at Zoho Corporation is I'm a regional sales manager for our U.S. Central and Mountain States. So anywhere from Kentucky all the way west to Idaho are states that I manage. I primarily work with small to medium-sized businesses where we try to find the solution that will best fit them and their business process and requirements.
Awesome. And if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of go in a slightly different direction than what I normally do in Syncast. And that is, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Zoho philosophy, because I think it's really interesting and kind of sets Zoho apart from similar companies. How does that philosophy reflect everything from the sales to the company culture, marketing, et cetera? And if you don't mind, briefly tell me just a little bit about Zoho's story.
Absolutely. Well, the philosophy is unique, especially in the software industry. One thing you'll notice if you go to our website is that your life's work is powered by our life's work. So we really take an approach where we want to be the solution for your business, but we're also invested in you. We are different in the fact that we don't push marketing down every single avenue. We want general organic interest in us because we're interested in you. And that goes from every single department at Zoho, and specifically in sales, where most people think of a salesperson as someone that's trying to something that's going to give them the most money in their pocket. But we don't take that approach at all. What we really try to do is make sure you're actually going to utilize what you personally need. So we're not one to try to squeeze every penny out of you. We're going to leave some money on the table. Zoho has a long, interesting journey. It's over 20 years old, and it started very small as a privately owned company, and it's still a privately owned company. It was first known as AdventNet and then made its way to Zoho. And I think that it's great that the company was built on personal relationships. And obviously the company has done super well to this day. It's over 15,000 employees. We have offices in almost every continent out there. And quite frankly, it's a great place to work for. And I think it stems from the leadership from the very top all the way down to even somebody who's newer at Zoho. It's a well-rounded place.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm going to just kind of diverge a little bit here into kind of discussing, I guess, your philosophy, if that's the right word, on sales. And we talked briefly before this. I think businesses are using data analytics, but I don't think they're using them to the full extent to help them with everything from making sales decisions, operational decisions, forecasting, et cetera. And one thing I find very fascinating is you use data analytics. You really dig into that for your sales and operational strategies. And I was wondering, how does that help you, your team, and even Zoho make not just daily decisions, but like I said, the forecasting, planning for the future, et cetera?
Yeah, it's very huge. For me, analytics is an everyday thing. In fact, very funny when I log in, I have 4 separate dashboards that I have open in separate tabs. So I can, go and scroll through, and they're tied to different things, whether it be forecasting, whether it be activity, whether that be just, where, what products are doing, better in what regions and where we're lacking, where we're doing really well on. We take the approach of once you have the ground framework, right? You're making your calls, you're taking a solutions-based approach, right? How can we really take a deeper dive of quality of learning to make sure that you're truly maximizing what you can do, both from a sales perspective and operational perspective? And that's where analytics comes in. The cool thing about Zoho is that every standalone application has their own really good built-in analytics dashboard reporting in it, but Zoho Analytics is able to tie all of that into one beautiful dashboard and maybe do a little bit more reporting than maybe a standalone can, but it's essential to what we use every single day, what I use every single day. I personally want to, see what our weaknesses are and then how we can make that weakness into a strength.
Excellent, excellent. And I mean, obviously, that's going to translate to the customer who is implementing Zoho CRM or the Zoho One suite. When you are talking to customers, what are some of their pain points that led them to say, I think there's a solution out there to help us with not just our sales, but marketing, et cetera. And they land basically, metaphorically speaking, at your door saying, hey, how can this help me out? But what are those common pain points that you see that businesses face that say, all right, we need to have a great discussion about what Zoho can do to help our sales?
Yeah. There's really three common pain points that a customer will come to us. And I like to break them into three separate categories. First is the financial pain, because usually they have really high subscription costs with their current vendor, the pricing complexity of what they're currently using, and then maybe it's just not as scalable as they want it to be. There's also the productivity pain point, where it is a lot of user adoption base, and maybe they're not receiving a ROI, whether that be both financially or on time, especially with the lack of automation features that could be there. And then another thing that's kind of recently is data security and privacy. I think everyone is very cautious of their data, right? Yeah. Who owns the data? What data does your vendor own? Where is it being stored at? Do you offer on-premise solutions, or is it all on the cloud? What am I getting when I go with you? So typically it's not so much the pain point of what you can do, but it's, financial productivity and then data security and privacy.
Gotcha. Excellent. I've heard so many stories of like kind of that final tipping point to what, a company finally said, all right, I need to get a CRM, or if they don't know exactly that it's a CRM, that they need to do things different. There's a lot of common ones. I hear, they had like a built-in CRM that was just so limited that they look for a solution. But I've heard actual horror stories. Somebody told me completely off the record, a customer, they said that the sales office is here and there's a doorway that goes into the manufacturing plant. They would get a call and they'd say, hey, I need to order this. And they would type it in. But then for the manufacturers, the people building the products, they'd write on a Post-it note, stick it on the door jamb around the door. Better hope that Post-it note doesn't fall to the floor. I mean, just so many different nightmares, which always blow me away. And I was just wondering, have you ever heard of any like really huge lost sales, maybe a lost email that cost, $500,000 sale, anything along those lines?
Definitely horror stories that have happened with all you've described. I've heard horror stories such as, obviously you can't limit the privacy on, Excel spreadsheets all that much.
Yeah.
And, an intern goes in there and wipes the whole entire thing out, or they, have a Microsoft document with notes of a customer and that's completely wiped out as well. There's no, data backups, nothing. And all that history, those years of work, especially for a smaller business, and even sometimes those medium-sized businesses go down the drain. And now you're starting from scratch, and now you're having repeated conversations, and it's a lot of apologizing to, your contacts. And those are just painful conversations you just don't want to have, that a CRM can definitely help solve.
Awesome. And kind of getting into that part of for at least for me, the importance of a CRM, especially from Zoho. What are some of the biggest advantages that a business, one that maybe is just living on spreadsheets and Post-it notes and everything in between? What are some of the big advantages for the head of sales and and his or her sales team to really start to just get that digital transformation, what are some of those like advantages, some of those like big features that they can take advantage of, like right out of the box?
Out of the box, I think it's automation, right? I
Yeah.
think most people, come and they're coming from spreadsheets. They haven't been introduced to a lot. So you want to start them off small, right? And
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
what can you get out of the CRM almost immediately? And that's the automation aspect of it. It's updating a record. It's sending an email to, the VP of sales, letting them know about a big deal that's in the works, right? So now we need more eyes on that specific deal. It's the, automated workflow emails whenever you have that lead generation pop into the CRM. That's stuff that you can, do right out of the gate, of
Yeah.
course. You can get more, into the weeds of actually doing, you know, actual process management where you have review processes in place, approval processes in place. You can, design the UI a little bit better with the Canvas feature. Obviously, we have a artificial intelligent agent, Zia, that can definitely be used very effectively as well. But the big thing that you're getting with Zoho is just the scalability. You can make it as small as you want, or you can turn it into a enterprise ready solution in a sense, but it's all
Awesome.
dependent on the user. But the great thing is the adoption rate is super high because it's that easy
Oh,
to use.
that's, oh my goodness, that's key. I mean, I don't know about you, but sometimes you hear a story about a business that the adoption rate was low, possibly because maybe they said, all right, you're using everything, and they kind of open up the floodgates instead of, like you were saying, kind of, hey, you're on spreadsheets. Let's start at the shallow end of the pool and ease our way instead of, jumping off that high dive right into the deep end. I want to kind of give an example that may sound kind of trivial, but it really wasn't, because it took me a second when one of our customers told me this. And I said, what has been one of the biggest advantages of using Zoho after, not having anything? And they're in England, and they do very high B2B sales in the garden industry, but B2B, not B2C. And he said that they did such high volume sales that if they called somebody, or a potential customer called them, unless they were ready to buy right then, or within 24, 48 hours, maybe they're just kind of sitting on the fence and deciding, they would just move on and not even go back and reach out. And he said the biggest thing for them right off the bat with Zoho was just the reminder, hey,
Hmm.
follow up. This customer, you put a note that this customer, they're still considering. It's been a week or two. And he said he couldn't give me metrics, but he felt like by doing that, they immediately brought their sales up 10-15%, because high volume sales can't even think, but now they have a system that reminds them. And that one tiny little feature meant that much more in sales. And at first I was like, wow. And then I was like, holy cow, that's bigger than you even realize,
Hmm.
given the number of sales that they did, and to be able to find those extra sales that they hadn't really, because of just how busy they are. So I wanted to say one thing, but that popped in my head, and just wanted to pass that along. It's such a small thing, a reminder to reach back out, but that's one of the big powers, I think, of Zoho CRM.
I agree 100%. And that's such a common thing, right? People are like, I'm forgetting to contact this person. And it could be a very warm, hot lead, or
Mm-hmm.
even a huge high deal value lead that you just forget to follow up on because maybe you have it written down on a sticky note or in a pad. Well, the beauty of Zoho CRM is that it reminds you, whether that be email notification, whether that just be a pop up in your instance, or better yet, you can even make it easier for your sales team
Mm-hmm.
by, as soon as they log in, they have a home dashboard, and it could be like my list of leads for today, or
Yeah.
my overdue tasks that need to be completed. And so you can really prioritize what needs to be prioritized. And the big thing is that it's not a lot of clicking. I think that's the big thing, is
No.
people don't want to click and open up
No.
new tabs. It's all right there in that single instance, which again makes the user adoption rate even higher. It also
Mm-hmm.
helps that we have a lot of great resources that are free to everyone online as well. But quite frankly, I think it's so easy that you don't even need to utilize those resources all the time.
That's fantastic. I like to sometimes say my philosophy when it comes to software. I used to deal with a lot of. I had a background in video and film production, and my philosophy was don't over confuse things with a video editing software. Don't over confuse things. Don't throw so much in to the UI of the camera. And some people get what I'm saying, some people don't, but I call it the philosophy of I like my software to kind of it helps me get my job done and it doesn't get in my way, meaning I'm not having to stop. And I think this is your point about you don't have to click a lot of buttons. I don't want to have to look at what I'm doing, click a lot of buttons 2 years after I started using this software because the UI isn't easy to use.
Mhm.
And I think that's a huge advantage because a lot of salespeople are probably coming in so cold on something like a CRM that to have something that's like, hey, powerful, but it's not super difficult to use. I think that's a big advantage. And what about for like a sales manager? I often hear they love the CRM because it kind of gives them a much better idea of what's going on with the sales pipeline. They don't have to wonder what's going on with Steve over here, who has a spreadsheet and a Rolodex and everything, but it's all locked in the computer, not really sure what's happening. I spoke to a Zoho consultant who said, is this Steve going out and playing golf too much with this customer? Do they, or hey, could Jill maybe help Steve with a couple things and kind of help get more deals closed, et cetera, et cetera. And I was wondering if you could talk about, how managers, sales managers, VP of sales, their reaction to using Zoho.
Yeah, once they, get inside the system and understand what's all capable, they're absolutely, huge fans about it. The great thing about Zoho and utilizing the CRM specifically is instead of scheduling those one-on-ones and making your sales rep, go in a specific spreadsheet or in a, document and fill out whatever is done, right? That's just taking more times away from the phones, taking more times away from meetings that they could be having. All this is something that a VP of sales and manager, they can all view all that stuff without even having to check in on the sales rep. So that way the sales rep is having more quality time with the customers in a sense. So if you want to see all notes that were given in a single day on a specific sales rep, you can do that. And everything's timestamped as well. So if let's say Jim, starts his workday at 8 and he doesn't log in his first note till 11:30, okay, that could cause a red flag. And that's something that a manager could see or VP sales could see. You can even go and, see call logs as well if you have that integrated into the system as well. But another thing is, right, is just a visual representation of the pipeline. Like how much do we have closing for the month of November? How much can we expect to close by, the end of Q4? And just having that visual representation. And then, of course, as long as you are continuing to use Zoho, you have good, data ownership in a sense, you can actually even utilize more features such as like the, anomaly detector. So if you are, trending in the wrong direction, it's going to let you know that. And you can visually see that. So now you see a red flag and it's like, hey, we need to put a stop to this right this second here. So the tools inside CRM is super big. And of course, if you take a deeper dive and you start doing the approval processes and review processes, or maybe, a certain field is filled out, that can let your VP of sales or manager know that, something needs more attention to, or maybe a discount or at the negotiation stage and stuff needs to be attended to. So beauty of it all is you don't actually have to demand a conversation with your sales rep. They can do their thing. You can watch from afar, but you always know what's going on.
Awesome. And you had mentioned AI earlier, and I know since the end of last year and especially this year, AI is massive. It's huge. And I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about AI and Zoho and what the latest features are and benefits for the customers.
Absolutely. So most of the applications have what is called Zia. Now, I will say Zia is, something that's included in really exclusively just the enterprise editions across the Zoho ecosystem.
Mhm.
And it varies from application to application of what functionalities it can do. But we already touched on it a little bit earlier about anomaly detection, right? So Zia can identify sales anomalies. So let's say, month one, was X amount, and then month two was X amount, and then month three, you're trending in the wrong direction. It's going to
Oh.
let you know. And you can get
Mhm.
very granular with it as far as like region specific, product specific, maybe even sales rep specific. You can do other things with Zia, such as emails or time to call, so you actually know when are your customers actually logging in and viewing your emails, or when is the best time to call. So it has a lot of predictive intelligence as well, so that way you're effectively calling people at the right times where they're going to pick up, because how many people really check their voicemails nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Especially if it's too long.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Competitor alerts, that's another thing as well, right? So if you have like a competitor field and that you're losing out to company A quite a lot, or maybe company B quite a lot, it's going to let you know there. So now you can game plan for why you're losing to that competitor, and how you can basically build out the customer profile, so that way you're actually winning against your competition. You can do other things such as lead generation with like data enrichment as well. So you can, go on to a specific website, and if you want to pull, company address, company phone, Twitter account, LinkedIn handle, that's all going to be done for you as well. And then of course, there's also, recommendations that can be done, workflow improvements, reporting improvements. It can even build a report on the fly as well. So Zia in itself is almost limitless in a sense. Now, the one drawback to Zia is you can't just plug it into whatever vendors you're currently using. It's specifically in Zoho's ecosystem only,
Mhm.
but it is always growing, and it's going to continue to improve.
Awesome. Awesome. And wanted to talk a little bit about Zoho One. I mean, there's so many great features, making it really an all-in-one platform for the customers. And obviously with the CRM, and I know we're talking a lot about the CRM, but I was wondering, what are some of those advantages of having an all-in-one platform like a Zoho One?
Absolutely. I think Zoho One is something probably we're most known for outside of Zoho CRM. And really, the big things that you're getting when you go to Zoho One is you're getting an integrated suite of 45 plus applications that's going to cover every aspect of your business:
Mm.
sales, marketing, support, finance, HR, and more. So you're really eliminating like data silos in a
Yeah.
sense. But the big thing that you're seeing is it's a very cost effective solution, right? You pay Hootsuite this much amount of money,
Oh.
and you pay, QuickBooks this much amount of money, and you pay, Salesforce this amount of money. And maybe you don't have a same singular payment date. Maybe you have payment dates all across the calendar year.
Oh.
That can get very annoying, especially if you don't even utilize the software and you just get an email notification that, hey, thanks so much for your payment, right? This is now just a singular payment in itself, and you're getting all these applications under one invoice in a sense.
Yeah.
Now, does Zoho One include every application within the ecosystem? No, it doesn't, but it does include the most popular applications that a business would use, that is tied to in our ecosystem. And you're going to get enterprise level features across all the applications in itself. With that, you get seamless integration,
Mhm.
of course, internally in the ecosystem, but do we expect everybody to go cold turkey and drop everything at the hat? No, they're probably going to migrate slowly into
Mm.
Zoho One in a sense. So while that is happening, we do offer, an open API for our application. So that way you can integrate to your third-party applications that you just can't get rid of. And you're reducing the integration spaghetti in a sense. So that's very huge, because now you're getting a little bit more unified data and insights, a little bit more enhanced collaboration, and so forth.
Awesome. Awesome. And, you were kind of mentioning the cost of ownership, just the affordability. I think it's fantastic. How can other companies compete that could $20,000, $30,000 a year I've heard, how do they compete with that great cost of ownership for Zoho? And also, probably more important, where do your customers find the most value in Zoho One? And I would say probably off the bat CRM, but what other tools do they find a lot of value in?
Absolutely. The cost of ownership is really high with Zoho. Obviously, with some of the pain points that I've mentioned earlier, that's big cost of ownership. I think what most people just really appreciate is that the pricing complexity isn't high at all.
Yeah.
What you see is kind of what you get. You don't have to really request a quote in a sense like you do on some other websites. You see the pricing page, and that's essentially what you're going to get. There is no really hidden fees. Of course, is there add-ons that can add on to the cost a bit? Sure, but it's all very straightforward for you. So it's really easy to understand, which is funny when you speak to our sales reps because it's like, wow, the pricing is exactly what is described on your page. What are you good for? And that's taken a solutions-based approach because we really want to understand your business process and requirements. So that way we can tell you which applications inside Zoho One is going to be most effective for you. So it really varies by industry, but I will say across the board, if I had to narrow it down to 3 applications, Zoho CRM is always going to be number one. In a sense, that's what most people are coming to us for, is to really just transform, their data, transform their sales process, transform their reporting, and so forth. Outside of that, Zoho Books is a very big one. In a sense, Zoho Books is a very great product that almost every business needs, especially if you don't have something in place like a QuickBooks or a different ERP system. But other than that, I would say Zoho Campaigns or marketing automation is a key player as well. So usually we see those 3 applications be the biggest driving factors in Zoho One, and maybe instead of starting off with the standalone application, just going straight into the suite of Zoho One.
Awesome. If you don't mind, I'd like to talk a little bit about data integration, particularly Commercient, where we also offer, almost an all-inclusive platform. It's not like an ETL where, it's like I think I had mentioned earlier, kind of almost along the lines, or before our call, I should say, of, you're like, okay, I need Zoho integrated with my ERP. An ETL is going to be almost like, okay, I need to order a wedding cake for my wedding, and I'm going to pay this company a lot of money, but they're going to hand me the ingredients. They're going to hand me the baking pans and everything, and I'm going to have to make my own wedding cake versus somebody's handling that. It's going to be fully managed and supported, and they're going to be able to open up Zoho and see things from their ERP like, what did this customer who, I see so irregularly. The last time I saw them was 8.5 months ago. What did they last order? Okay, cool. Was that invoice paid? One thing I've heard a lot from our customers is they love being able to not have to wait till the end of the quarter, get a sales report, and probably along the lines of what you were mentioning earlier, look and see, oh man, my sales dropped, and it might be too late to save that customer. They may have gone to a competitor. Whereas they can jump in at any given time and look at what's happening with their sales within that quarter. Something happens, they can get on the phone and probably save that account. And I was wondering, what are some of the advantages in your mind of Commercient Sync integrating that ERP data to Zoho for sales, marketing, et cetera?
Absolutely. First off, I think it's just the streamlined process, right? Because you're having it connected. That means you're going to have fewer double, entries, less manual work, and you're going to have more time to focus on, what needs to be prioritized. And the great thing is that with the ERP, because can be complex in the sense you don't want people to have access to it. You really just want your accountants, in a sense, to have access to it and your admins to have access to it. But as a salesperson, you want the visual data, or you just want to see the data in real time. So by setting up that sync, especially utilizing Commercient, which I love what y'all do, because y'all offer so many different packages, how you group users together, monthly, annual pricing. but really just the types of syncs that you offer. Do you want it from ERP to CRM? Do you want CRM to ERP? And then from there, right, are you looking for real data time synchronization? Are you looking for synchronization at different times of the day, right? So the scalability is just incredible. And with that, you're going to, grow as you add more products in a sense, and Commercient's with you along the way, along with our CRM as well. So now you're making better decisions because you're getting real lifetime insights in a sense, which is only going to make your analytics better. And so that way you're going to, from an operational standpoint, be able to make better decisions. And essentially, in a sense, you're going to have better cost efficiency over time.
Awesome. Awesome. And I think that is like probably one of the biggest things about kind of tying back to earlier when we were talking about the horror stories and everything, is having that digital transformation, having certain data that they used to have to call inside, not just inside sales, but maybe the accounting team and say, hey, I'm about to meet this customer, and how quick can you drop what you're doing and send me a sales report on what they bought, the 8.5 months ago, and just being able to at their fingertips have that data. Bear, really appreciate this, and wanted to before I wrap up the call, something I probably should have asked earlier. The one thing I also find very unique about Zoho, if you don't mind me just going back a little bit, are the offices, and it's not these gigantic buildings, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, the offices are really cool. There's one I heard that's on a farm. They're peaceful, and I was wondering, how do those offices really reflect Zoho's philosophy and company culture?
Yeah, they reflect it really well, right? Because again, we are a company where we're invested into the customer, and we're really invested, not just you as a business, but as a person as well. And it's true, we do have a farm, and we like to give back to the community as well. Our Austin location, they have, a beautiful farm. They even have some chickens. There's even some goats there now as well.
That's awesome.
And it gives a really cool, unique feel, right? Because again, there is kind of that painted picture of wearing business t-shirts and, wearing some slacks and maybe being a little cheesy as a software salesperson, but you're talking to real people here at Zoho in a sense. And it reflects our culture, especially with how we're just real people. And, we love to, essentially, showcase who we are. We're people just like you and I in a sense. And so to have those type of offices, I think, brings a little bit more peace of mind that you can have just a regular conversation with us when we're trying to find out what product would work best for you. And they're really invested in knowing that we're a private company, that we give back to the community, that we are trying to essentially better ourselves as people in a sense. And it just goes back to the philosophy of what was founded back in the late 90s to all the way now. And the one thing that's cool is that as the company continues to grow, you always fear that culture is going to change, philosophies are going to change. But in my time here at Zoho, nothing has changed at all. And if there has been change, it's always been for the better. But, the core philosophy has always remained the same. And I think when you go and visit every office here in the US or, maybe in a different country, it's going to reflect back to what you see in our international headquarters, Chennai, India, which is a beautiful campus.
Awesome. That's awesome. Now, before we wrap up, if you don't mind me asking tips, I think, when I took a data analytics class, a lot of things started clicking for me. And you talked about why data analytics are important for you, important for Zoho, but then also businesses that are adopting Zoho CRM. Sometimes, though, when you mention data analytics, some people don't know where to begin or what they need to be focusing on. And I this could probably be a whole different call, but I was wondering if you have like maybe 3 or 4 little tips that you could give on getting the most out of data analytics to help a company understand what's going on with sales, customers, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest part in just really understanding data analytics in afar is just setting clear objectives, right? Like, what are some defined measurables that you want to have? What are your business goals? Is it, boosting sales? Is it improving, customer satisfaction? Is it streamlining operations in a sense? Once you have that clear objective in mind, now you can actually build quality over quantity in a sense. Sometimes I think people confuse that more data is always going to produce better results. And that's not necessarily the same, right? You want quality over quantity. So having, 1,000 fields is necessarily not going to make your analytics better to, accomplish the clear objectives that you have set forth. So once you have your clear objectives, once you have quality data, then, from there, right, now you can really understand the context of what you're trying to build. And then you can, obviously know, are you trying to do pivot tables? Are you trying to do heat maps? Are you trying to really just do something simple as far as just, just a general column, report, a pie chart, and so forth. But the biggest thing I see is that people don't really have set clear objectives of what they're trying to see. You have to visualize what type of dashboard, what type of report you want, and then you have to understand your own business process and how are you going to get that quality data. More does not always equal better, in my opinion. And then right there, it's using the right tools. I think one thing that helps, especially in Zoho, is data prep, right? Zoho data prep essentially actually enhances Zoho analytics, right? Because now you're actually having clean, data in a sense, especially if you're pulling in data from multiple sources, maybe from multiple vendors, maybe you use a different spreadsheet and so forth. So you're, deduplicating everything. So you're not getting any false reports or, forecasting insights in a sense. And then it's also going to give you helpful suggestions as well, and how you can have even better, data quality in a sense. So those are the big things, but the big one is setting a clear objective and then making sure you have the data that supports that clear objective.
Awesome. And I'm guessing with the tools like Zoho Analytics, you don't need to be a data scientist with a PhD to understand what's happening. It's something that you could really look at in those dashboards, reports, et cetera.
Exactly. You don't need to be a data scientist whatsoever. Of course, it does help, right? And probably the results are going to be a little bit better than someone who isn't. But it's all very clear cut and objective. And then for even someone that's even a little scared to, step in that realm, well, we have great resources online through our Zoho knowledge base, as well as our community forums, where you can actually, see videos, you can, see screenshots, or you can even talk to other peoples in the community or a live support rep to build that dream dashboard or that visual representation that you're always wanting to build. And then from there, of course, for the people that maybe aren't as skilled with analytics, you can just send the reports or have a live dashboard integrated as a web tab. So that way they can see that visual representation masterpiece. Awesome.
Bear, thank you so much for a great conversation. How can our viewers learn more about Zoho and learn more about you, or at least reach out to you?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing is you can just go to zoho.com. From there, it's really wherever you want to go. If you want to learn a little bit more about the company history, the products that we have, depending on what you're looking for, sales, marketing, support, and so forth, that's going to be all right there. But I encourage that anybody that's interested in learning more about Zoho is to go ahead, start a free trial. The great thing about the trial, there's no credit card or debit card that you need to have on file. There's no ads. You actually get to test out almost every feature in every single standalone product. And then from there, you have an account executive that will reach out to you and then kind of help guide you through your evaluation of our software. Awesome. If people want to get in touch with me, they can always reach out to me at bear.r@zohocorp.com. And I would love to help them take through the evaluation process and get them connected with one of our senior account executives.
Awesome. Bear, thank you again for your time today.
Well, Heath, I definitely appreciate it. I think Commercient is a great solution, and they're a huge need in this marketplace.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Synccast powered by Commercient. Learn more about ERP and CRM integration with Commercient Sync by logging on to commercient.com.